This video, it's time to get this engine buttoned up. We're going to put the valve covers on it, the timing chain cover on it. But before we do that, we got to put the lash adjusters and the cam followers in. To put the lash adjusters in, you need one of these tools. This is a 2-valve tool. The 4-valve one is similar to this, but it goes off to the side. Also got Fel-Pro timing chain cover kit, Fel-Pro valve cover. These are the grommets for the bolts, and exhaust manifold gasket. Before we do anything, I'm going to put this on there. I've actually forgot to put this on before, and it sucks. You got to take the timing chain cover back off. This is the thin one for the one piece. There's the Ford part number for it. So this is the crank position sensor, reluctor wheel, tone ring, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you call it, just don't forget to put it on. Now while we're on the block, this is where you'll put RTV when you put the timing chain cover on there, and RTV down here as well. I like to try and clean these off when the engine is completely taken apart and clean right there, but I didn't do that. So if you are going to clean this, I use just a razor blade. There's also RTV up here where the valve covers go. If you're going to be cleaning these things, I just use a little razor blade like that, and I'll put some rags in here to make sure none of the little pieces of RTV fall in, and then just clean it. Now we need to clean and bleed down our lash adjusters. To bleed these down, we're going to use our vise here, and this can be kind of time consuming. You want to take your time. This is kind of like a shock. It's hard to push down, so you want to have just some steady pressure on it. And you'll see like there's a little hole right there. That's where the oil goes in. So you just slowly turn it around like this. Keep even pressure. You want it to be steady so that way you can feel when it bottoms out. You don't want to over compress it. So right there it stopped. And if you're doing this, one thing you can note is where the handle is when it stops. That way you know that it's going to be about however many revolutions it is. Because when you're doing 16 of these, it's good to know, okay, I'm about to stop. Some of these are harder than others to do. I'll do that 16 more times. It took about a half hour, 45 minutes to bleed all these down. I'm going to put them in a little bucket here, cover them with oil, and let them soak for a bit. So you can let these sit overnight if you want. I don't know if you really even need to let them soak. I like to let them soak. At least it puts some oil on them. But we'll leave those soak while we do put the gaskets in the timing cover and the valve cover. Okay, here's the timing chain cover. I cleaned it all up. These look really good powder coated. If you're gonna paint it, the paint doesn't really hold up very well, but they look great when they're powder coated. First thing I'm gonna do is get rid of this old seal. To do that, we're just gonna hit it from the inside. I'm gonna use a punch and a hammer. You could probably use a screwdriver. What you want to do is not necessarily on the lip of it. So I put the punch not on the lip, but down inside here. It's going to pretty much destroy the seal, but we're putting a new one in anyway. You can see it kind of messes up the seal, but it didn't do anything to the sides here. So we want to make sure this inside surface area is clean. You can just wipe it out if it needs a little bit of sanding because it's corroded, or if I've seen these with RTV in there. Just need to clean that out so you get a good seal. And inside of our timing chain cover gasket, there's a front crank seal. When you put these in, you'll see on the inside it's got like a little spring around it and a lip. This is the side that goes down, goes towards the oil. When I put these in there, I use a piece of wood, and the idea is to tap it down in there evenly. So there you can see it's flush. On the back side, this is the area where RTV is put. So if you haven't already, then you want to make sure you clean that up. take our gaskets. Now the timing chain cover is ready to go. And since we have a Windsor engine, there's going to be, I think there are 13 and 14 bolts on each side of the valve cover. So we got a lot of these little grommets to replace. To get them off, I like to use this little screwdriver. Just pry it up and over. And now we'll give these guys a little cleaning. Now that we scrape the big stuff off, we can wipe them down. And now they're ready for their gaskets. The way these just kind of roll them on there. Okay, now our bolts are ready to go. And now our valve cover gaskets. Once you got your valve cover gaskets on there, these get pressed up through there. This portion of the gasket actually goes underneath this little lip here, so it can be kind of tricky. Once you got it in there right, it'll hold the bolt in place. Also, I don't know if you can get these mixed up, but these little tabs right here, that's where you're going to put RTV. That's where the timing chain cover meets up with the head. So you want to make sure those are in the front. And now we can put our lash adjusters in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put as many as I can in on both sides, and then I'm going to rotate the engine over one full turn and then put the other ones in. So like if the lobe is in the way, like on this one, I won't be able to get it in there. Now I'm going to rotate the engine over one full turn, and now I can put the rest in. And now we can wipe down our Cam Fallowers and inspect them for any cracks, or make sure the bearing rolls smoothly. Now before you start pushing valves down, you want to make sure that the keyway is either straight left, straight right, or straight up and down. In this case it's straight left, which means that all the pistons will be down. That way when you're pushing down on the valve, it's not going to hit the piston. So the rounded portion goes on the lash adjuster and the square part goes on the valve. I like to get the square part on first, and then just get the rounded part started. There you can see that the cam follower isn't quite on the lash adjuster yet. Going to use our tool with a 3/8 breaker bar and push down on that valve. And at the same time, once the valve goes down, we'll push up on the follower. And you can only do these if the lobe is pointing up, away from, or maybe off to the side or down or something, but you won't be able to get it if it's pointed down. So once you can get leverage on the spring, I can't get my finger down in there. I can't get my finger down on this one. I'm going to use a little screwdriver and try and pull it up. Oh. There, I was able to get it. I get it with the screwdriver, so you just basically, it can be tricky. You gotta basically get the valve down and at the same time move the follower up. Okay, I was able to get about half of the followers in there, so now I'm going to rotate the engine back one complete revolution back to, and now I can put the rest of the followers in. And now we got all the lash adjusters in. Now we can get ready to put our timing chain cover on. So we're going to put our dabs of RTV right where the head meets the block. Both heads meet the block. I'm here, 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 and there, and also down in this corner. So you want to kind of dry them off. Make sure there's no oil or anything on there. And also I like to make sure that at least these front 4 bolts are loose on the oil pan. And you want to get your bolts ready. I'm going to clean these as we put them in. These ones, the ones with the studs, usually go on these 4 spots here on both heads. And I'm going to use Permatex Ultra Black. Just get a little daub on your finger there. There's 2 dowels on the engine block. Make sure that yours are present, that they're there. That's what's going to center the timing chain cover. Okay, before we put our timing chain cover on, one of these holes doesn't line up because it's a textured block. So we need to go ahead and fill this bolt hole with RTV as well. Now we can put the cover on. I'll put it on the bottom first and then just kind of rock it up. Okay, a couple of things I noticed was one, that this bolt hole is also off to the side of this block. I think I misspoke and said this is a textured block, but the Nemak block, the bolt holes don't line up as well, but it looks like the Nemak block is cast a little differently to where if this hole wasn't plugged, there'd be oil coming out of there. So I'm going to put RTV in this hole as well. The other thing I noticed is these ones with the little studs would normally go down here, and that's what the wire harness hangs off of. But these blocks are not threaded to these. I think these are like M12 or something. They're threaded for M10, so I need to put some regular M10s in there. These get tightened in kind of a circular motion. You do these inner ones first and then out to these outer ones. And these are all torqued to 20 foot-pounds. We can put the 4 oil pan bolts in. And we can torque those, and then the 2 side ones as well, the 20. When you put the valve covers on, you want to make sure you put a dab of RTV where the timing chain cover meets the heads. So right here on the top side and on the bottom side on both heads. The valve cover bolts get torqued to 90 inch-pounds. You also want to double check and make sure that the gasket didn't fold over or anything. So it's a good idea to go all the way around, look underneath, make sure the gasket didn't get folded over. And when you torque these, you torque from the inside out. Okay, now last thing I want to do is put some tape across the intake. And that's it. It's just about ready to drop in. There's a couple more things that I want to put on there. Oil filter adapter, the dipstick tube, the exhaust manifold, but it's looking more and more like an engine.